Um, Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You roll over, grab your phone off the nightstand, and you see an email that, well, it basically instantly changes your entire life.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a strong start. What does the email say?
Well, it tells you that starting today, you are going to earn 19% more money at your current job.
I mean, I would definitely wake up for that.
Right. But before you can even process that first email, a second one pops up. And this one says you've been selected to travel the world. You get to live in a vibrant new country, and you get to study at an incredibly famous, world-renowned university.
That sounds amazing.
But wait, the absolute best part, you don't have to pay a single cent.
Wait, really? Completely free?
Completely free.
What?
Everything, your classes, your apartment, your food, it's all completely covered. Now, I want you to imagine that you unlocked all of this money, all of this travel, and this amazing elite education just because of one single skill.
Just one skill.
Yeah, a skill that you happen to be practicing right now at this exact moment just by sitting there and listening to my voice.
Yeah. I mean, it honestly sounds like a movie script or,
Yes.
some impossible dream. But the crazy thing is, this isn't fiction.
No.
This is the very real reality for millions of people across the globe who have figured out how to unlock these specific doors. And it's entirely possible for you too.
Welcome to the Learn and Talk English podcast.
We are so incredibly happy you decided to join us today. I mean, if you're listening to this right now, you're already taking a massive step forward.
You really are. And we want to remind you that you found a safe, friendly, and relaxing place to do your English listening practice.
Exactly. We're your guides, we're your teachers, and, well, we're your friends on this journey to help you speak English fluently.
Yeah, so you can take a deep breath and just relax. You do not need to be perfect to be here. You don't need to have perfect grammar to understand us.
Absolutely not.
This is a space dedicated to easy English, to learning at a very natural pace, and most importantly, to building your confidence.
And our mission for today's episode is incredibly exciting.
It really is.
We're going to explore exactly how mastering the English language acts as this universal key, a key that unlocks the biggest, most life-changing opportunities in the world.
We are talking about accelerating your career, significantly boosting your salary, and winning fully funded international scholarships.
Which is essentially free money for university.
Exactly. Free money. And by the time we finish our conversation today, you are going to know the exact steps to find these massive global scholarships.
Yep, and we'll understand the psychology behind writing a scholarship essay that actually wins.
And maybe most importantly for your everyday life, you'll learn the daily habits that make learning English feel easy and natural, even if you have a really demanding job or a super busy schedule.
So if you want to learn English, expand your English vocabulary, and discover how to fundamentally change your future, just stay right here with us.
Let's start by looking at the bigger picture. Because before we can really get into the strategies for earning more money or, winning free university scholarships, we need to understand the mechanics of the modern world.
Right, the foundation.
Exactly. Like, why does the globe seem to run on this one specific language? What makes English the universal key?
That is really the foundational question, isn't it? Because to understand how the world operates today, we need to look at a concept called a lingua franca.
Lingua franca.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big term. Let's break that down for our listener.
So historically, when two groups of people who didn't share a native language needed to trade or, negotiate, they had to agree on a third language to use as a bridge.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they needed a lingua franca to make communication possible.
A bridge language.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we picture a massive international business meeting in Tokyo,
Okay, let's picture it.
you've got a software engineer from Japan, an investor from Brazil, and a marketing director from Germany all sitting around a big table.
Right.
The engineer speaks Japanese, the investor speaks Portuguese, and the marketer speaks German. They literally can't do business if they can't share ideas. So they build a bridge. They all switch to English.
Precisely. That is exactly it.
Yeah.
English is the modern world's lingua franca. And the scale of this bridge is it's hard to comprehend. It's truly a global superpower.
How big are we talking?
Well, let's look at the actual infrastructure of global communication. Take international organizations. These are massive groups that operate across borders to solve global problems.
Like the United Nations.
Exactly. The UN, the World Health Organization, international relief agencies, 85% of these organizations use English as their official working language.
Wait, 85%?
85%.
That's not just a majority. That's practically a monopoly on global cooperation. I mean, if you want to be in the room where global decisions are made, You have to be able to walk across that bridge.
You do, and it extends far beyond politics or business, too. Just think about the digital world.
Oh, yeah, the internet.
Right. We all spend hours on the internet every day. We search for information, we learn new skills, read the news. 56% of all the content on the entire internet is published in English.
Wow. That is a staggering statistic, 56%.
It really is.
I mean, if you think about it, if you only speak your native language, you are essentially browsing a highly restricted, kind of censored version of the internet. You're only seeing a tiny fraction of human knowledge.
That's a great way to put it.
But the moment you start to learn English, it's like someone hands you the password to unlock the other half of the digital world. Suddenly, you have access to completely different perspectives, global news, endless educational resources.
It's the ultimate access code. And we see this heavily in the academic and scientific communities as well.
How so?
Well, when researchers in South Korea or Switzerland discover a breakthrough in medicine or maybe renewable energy, they don't just publish it in their local language.
Right, because they want the world to see it.
Exactly. They want the entire scientific community to test it, peer review it, and build upon it. Because of this, over 80% of all scientific journals are published entirely in English.
80%.
Yep.
If you want to contribute to the cutting edge of human progress, you do it in English.
Okay, wait, let me push back on this for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Because when we look at demographic data, doesn't Mandarin Chinese actually have significantly more native speakers than English?
Yes, it does.
I mean, there are over 1 billion native Mandarin speakers. If we're just going by the numbers, why hasn't Mandarin become the universal key?
It's a really valid point, and you're right. The sheer volume of native Mandarin speakers is massive, but the distinction lies in geography and utility.
What do you mean by that?
Well, while Mandarin has a massive native population, the vast majority of those speakers are concentrated in one specific region of the world. English, on the other hand, is completely decentralized.
Ah.
It has become the world's favorite second language. It's adopted globally, not just regionally.
I think I see what you're saying. It's not necessarily about how many people speak it from birth. It's about the geographic spread of the people who learn it later in life.
Exactly.
You know, it reminds me of packing for a trip abroad. Okay, how so?
Well, when you travel internationally, you always pack your phone charger.
Right.
But the moment you get to your hotel in a new country, you realize the wall outlet is a completely different shape.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst.
Your native plug won't fit into their native wall. So what is the solution? You pull out a universal travel adapter.
A universal travel adapter. I like how you're framing that.
Right. The adapter is this versatile little tool that bridges the gap between your device and the local power grid. It works in Europe, it works in Asia, it works in South America. So in this scenario, English isn't necessarily the phone or the wall, it's the universal adapter. No matter what country you visit, if you've developed your English speaking skills, you have the adapter required to plug in and connect with whoever is in the room.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. It's the mechanism that translates your personal skills, your intelligence, and your ideas into a format the rest of the world can actually process.
Which is exactly why doing your daily English conversation practice is so vital. You're literally building your own universal adapter.
You really are.
So, the global scale is undeniable. English is the operating system of the internet, science, and international relations. But let's bring this down to the individual level. Let's talk about the financial reality,
Let's do it.
because I know our listeners want to know how this impacts them personally. Moving into our second main focus today. How does this language bridge connect directly to your bank account?
This is where the statistics get incredibly motivating. The financial return on investment for learning a second language is staggering.
Give me the numbers.
Data shows that bilingual employees, so people who can operate professionally in their native language and English, they earn an average of 19% more money than their monolingual peers.
19%. Let's actually do the math on that, just to show how life-changing 19% can really be.
Okay, let's break it down.
If you're working a job that pays, say, $50,000 a year, and you develop the ability to speak English fluently, that premium could add an extra $9,500 to your salary every single year. Over the course of a 10-year career, that is almost $100,000 of additional wealth, generated purely because you can communicate across borders.
And that premium exists because the demand from employers is overwhelming. Around 90% of employers in the United States, and a similar margin in many multinational corporations abroad, They explicitly state they rely on a multilingual workforce.
90% need bilingual staff.
Yes. They need employees who can, negotiate with suppliers in Vietnam, manage client relationships in Germany, read financial reports from London. The ability to do that makes you an incredibly valuable asset.
I can imagine.
In fact, a recent market study found that 43% of bilingual professionals saw their compensation increase by $5,000 or more the exact moment they officially added a second language to their resume.
That is a massive incentive for anyone listening right now who is trying to learn English. But, I know from talking to our listeners that just knowing the financial reward doesn't always make the actual process easy.
Yeah.
There's a psychological barrier that we really have to address here. Something I've heard described as the confidence gap.
Oh, the confidence gap. That is a huge hurdle, and it affects almost everyone.
Explain what that is.
So, researchers surveyed thousands of corporate employees globally about their language skills. 72% of these workers openly admitted that their daily jobs would be significantly easier and they would be way more productive if their English skills were stronger.
Okay, 72%. That's most people.
Right. But here is the crucial friction point. Out of that massive group, only 27% actually felt confident enough to express their ideas in English during a meeting.
Oh, wow. That breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
It means there are brilliant, smart people sitting in meeting rooms all over the world. They have the solution to the company's problem right there in their head, but they stay quiet.
Because they're afraid.
Exactly. They are terrified of mispronouncing a word or using the wrong verb tense. If you are listening to us right now and you have ever felt that anxiety, please know that you are entirely normal. Language anxiety is a universal human experience.
It absolutely is. When you speak a new language, you feel vulnerable. You feel like you're not presenting the smartest version of yourself.
Exactly.
Overcoming that gap is exactly why consistent English listening practice is so transformative. You don't just jump from zero to giving a keynote speech. You build it slowly.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a moment.
Okay.
Because I was talking to a university student last week, and he pulled out his smartphone. He opened a really popular translation app, spoke into it in his native language, and the phone instantly spit out perfect English audio.
Right. The technology is amazing.
It is. And he asked me, if we have algorithms and machines that can translate my voice in real time, why on earth would I spend hundreds of hours learning English just to get a job? The machine does it for me.
It's the most common question in modern language education, and the technology is undeniably impressive. Translation software processes data at lightning speed, and it can accurately swap vocabulary words from one language to another.
Right. So why learn?
Because here is the critical flaw in that logic. Machines translate vocabulary, but they are completely blind to culture, nuance, and human emotion.
Blind to culture and emotion.
Yeah.
That is a really interesting distinction. Give me an example of how that actually impacts a business. I mean, why wouldn't a company just use software to save money on hiring bilingual staff?
Because when software misses the cultural context, it can cause catastrophic financial damage.
Really? Like what?
Let's look at a famous case study involving HSBC. They are one of the largest multinational banks in the world.
Okay.
Several years ago, their corporate marketing team developed a really strong, reassuring slogan for their English-speaking markets. The slogan was, "Assume nothing."
Assume nothing.
Okay, let's unpack the nuance of that English expression for our listeners. To assume means to believe something is true without actually checking the facts or having proof.
Exactly.
So if a global bank's motto is assume nothing, they are signaling safety and diligence. They're telling their clients, we don't guess with your money. We verify every single detail. We are incredibly careful.
It's a really powerful message that builds trust.
It is. It conveys meticulous care. However, HSBC wanted to expand this campaign globally.
Makes sense.
But instead of hiring skilled bilingual human copywriters to culturally adapt the message for overseas markets, they relied heavily on direct, mechanical translation to push the slogan into dozens of foreign languages.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I can see where this is going.
Yeah. The machine algorithm looked at the literal definition of the words and translated them directly. And in several major global markets, the direct translation of assume nothing ended up meaning do nothing.
Oh, wow. Do nothing. That is the absolute opposite of diligent care.
It was a public relations nightmare. I mean, imagine walking down the street in a major financial district, and you look up at a massive billboard for a premier global bank, and the advertisement essentially says, HSBC, we do Nothing.
That's terrible. Customers interpreted it as the bank being lazy or incompetent or completely inactive with their investments.
Exactly.
I mean, that was funny in hindsight, but I cannot imagine the panic in the boardroom when they realized what happened. How much did that mechanical error cost the company?
It forced them into a massive rebranding campaign to fix their damaged reputation in those markets. The cost of recalling the advertisements, redesigning the marketing, and rebuilding public trust was $10 million.
$10 million evaporated because a machine didn't understand cultural context.
Yes.
And that is exactly why companies are willing to take that 19% salary premium for human beings who speak English fluently.
Precisely. To use an analogy, relying on translation software in a delicate business negotiation is a lot like trying to use a microwave to cook a 5-course meal for an important anniversary dinner.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. The microwave is incredibly efficient. It applies heat and makes the food hot in 60 seconds. Technically, it achieves the goal of preparing the food.
But it completely destroys the texture, the presentation, and the soul of the meal.
Hmm.
A microwave doesn't care about the delicate flavor of the sauce or the presentation on the plate. It just blasts it with radiation.
Right.
A machine translation does the exact same thing to human communication. It blasts the words into a new language, but it strips away the empathy, the subtle humor, the shared cultural understanding, and the warmth of a human smile.
That's so true.
In business, you don't just exchange data, you build relationships. And algorithms cannot build trust.
I absolutely love that. A machine exchanges data, but a human builds a relationship. If you want to be a leader, if you want to negotiate, if you want to manage a team, you need the human touch. And that human touch in the global market requires English.
It really does.
So the financial return on investment is clear. That 19% salary bump is life-changing. But securing those high-paying international jobs usually requires an advanced university degree,
True.
which introduces a massive, seemingly impossible roadblock for most people, right? The sheer crushing cost of higher education.
It's so expensive.
Fortunately, that same language skill we just discussed is the exact currency you can use to bypass those costs entirely. Let's explore how English becomes your golden ticket to the world of international scholarships.
This is truly where learning English changes from a professional advantage into a life-altering golden ticket. There is a vast ecosystem of financial support out there. We're talking about global scholarships.
Let's explain that for anyone unfamiliar. A scholarship isn't a loan, right?
Right. It's a financial award given to a student to support their education, and it never has to be paid back.
And we aren't just talking about a small discount on your classes. We are talking about fully funded opportunities.
Which is incredible.
When an international scholarship is fully funded, the organization sponsoring you acts almost like a wealthy benefactor. They pay your university tuition directly. They pay for your housing, whether that's a dormitory or a private apartment. They buy your textbooks. They cover your health insurance.
Yeah.
They even deposit a living allowance into your bank account every month so you can buy groceries and travel around your new city.
It allows you to move to a foreign country and treat your education as your full-time job without any financial stress. And there are nearly 200 massive government-backed international scholarships available right now.
Really? 200?
Yeah. We're talking about programs like the Scheveningen Scholarship in the United Kingdom, the Fulbright program in the United States, and the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's degrees across Europe. These packages can be valued anywhere from $10,000 to $80,000 per year.
$80,000 a year. That is just staggering. And here is the secret that most people don't realize. The primary key to unlocking these prestigious, wealthy scholarships is simply proving that you have the English-speaking and listening skills to survive in that academic environment.
It's the ultimate gatekeeper. To prove your proficiency, these scholarship boards rely on standardized tests. The two heavyweights in this arena are the IELTS, which stands for the International English Language Testing System, and the TOEFL, the test of English as a foreign language.
Now, I know the word test instantly causes anxiety.
Oh, for sure.
People hear standardized English test, and they assume they need to have the vocabulary of a Shakespearean actor or, the grammar of an Oxford professor. They think they need a perfect score to even be considered.
That is a very common misconception, and it holds so many talented people back from applying. Let's demystify the scoring system a little bit.
Please do.
The IELTS exam grades your reading, writing, listening, and speaking on a scale from 0 to 9. This is known as a band. A band 9 means you are essentially an expert native-level user, but almost no major scholarship demands a 9.
Right. You don't need to be perfect.
Far from it. The vast majority of these fully funded international programs ask for a band score of 6.5, and an incredible number of highly respected scholarships only require a 6.0, or in some cases even a 5.5.
Let's put that into perspective for our listeners. A 6.0 doesn't mean you never make a grammar mistake. It means you are a competent, functional user of the language.
Exactly.
If you can listen to this podcast, understand the core concepts we're discussing, and express your own opinions clearly, you are well on your way to a 6.0. It is an entirely realistic, achievable goal for anyone dedicated to doing easy English practice every day.
It really is.
To prove how accessible this is, let's look at a concrete, real-world example. Let's break down the mechanics of the Malaysia International Scholarship, or the MIS, for the upcoming 2026 academic year.
The MIS is a brilliant example because it highlights how aggressive governments are in recruiting global talent. This program is initiated and heavily funded by the Malaysian government.
What's their goal?
Their goal is to attract brilliant minds from developing and developed nations to pursue their master's or PhD studies at top Malaysian universities.
Okay, so who is actually eligible for this? Is it restricted to a tiny handful of people?
Not at all. It's incredibly inclusive. If you are a citizen of an ASEAN country like Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, or the Philippines, you are a prime candidate. But it extends far beyond Southeast Asia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it welcomes applicants from all Commonwealth nations, as well as specific target countries across the Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia.
I often hear listeners say, I've been working for 10 years, I'm too old to apply for a university scholarship. Those are just for 22-year-olds right out of college. Does the MIS have strict age cutoffs?
This is another myth we need to bust right now. The MIS recognizes that professionals want to return to academia to upgrade their skills. If you are applying for a fully funded master's degree, you simply need to be under 40 years old.
Under 40.
Yep. And if you're pursuing a PhD, the age limit extends to 45. So if you're in your 30s, established in your career, and want a radical life change, this door is wide open for you.
Under 40 for a master's. That is incredibly generous. And what exactly does the Malaysian government give you if you are selected?
First, they eliminate your tuition entirely. The money goes straight to the university. You never even see an invoice.
Amazing.
Second, to ensure you can focus entirely on your research, they provide a monthly stipend, a living allowance of 1,500 Malaysian ringgit deposited every single month for the entire duration of your degree.
So your classes are free, and you receive a monthly salary just to be a student. What is the catch? What do you have to demonstrate academically to earn this?
The academic threshold is surprisingly reasonable. They look at your undergraduate university grades, measured by a CGPA, or cumulative grade point average. They require a minimum CGPA of 3.0.
And what does that mean in plain terms?
To translate that, you need to have maintained mostly B grades. You don't need to be a straight A, top of your class genius. You just need to show consistent, solid academic effort.
Mostly B grades. Most of our listeners have that. And what about the language requirement?
This is the best part. To secure this fully funded package, the MIS only requires an IELTS band score of 6.0, or if you take the TOEFL, a score of 550.
A 6.0. That is the universal travel adapter in action. You secure your 6.0, and suddenly the Malaysian government is willing to fly you across the world, pay your tuition, and give you a monthly salary.
It's life-changing.
And it's not just Malaysia. Turkey, South Korea, Hungary, and Japan all have similar programs with incredibly accessible English requirements.
They absolutely do.
But this brings up a crucial logistical problem. Let's say you're listening to this, you practice your English vocabulary, you take the IELTS, and you score your 6.0.
Yeah.
You look at your university transcripts and you have your 3.0 GPA. You meet all the requirements. You're ready to apply. But there are thousands of other people from all over the world who also have a 6.0 and a 3.0. On paper, you all look exactly the same. How do the judges decide who gets the money?
That is the ultimate bottleneck. And the answer lies in the single most critical document in your entire application package, the scholarship essay.
Yes.
Or as it's sometimes called, the statement of purpose or personal motivation letter. This is where you have to transition from being a set of data points on a spreadsheet into a living, breathing human being.
So how do you write a scholarship essay that actually wins? Because I've read a lot of drafts from students, and I'll be honest, most of them are incredibly tough to get through.
They are. Most essays fail. And they don't fail because the applicant isn't smart or deserving. They fail because the writing is completely generic and, worst of all, Interchangeable.
Interchangeable. Let's explore that word for our English learners.
Hmm.
If two car parts are interchangeable, it means you can take a part out of a Honda, put it into a Toyota, and it works perfectly because they are exactly the same shape. So if an essay is interchangeable,
It means I could take your essay, digitally erase your name from the top of the page, type my own name in its place, and the essay would still make complete sense.
wow, okay.
It contains 0 unique identifiers. It's full of broad, sweeping statements that could apply to literally anyone on the planet.
I see this all the time. Students will write opening sentences like, I have always been deeply passionate about the pursuit of higher education, or receiving this prestigious scholarship would be a great honor and would help me achieve my future dreams. I
Exactly.
read that and my brain just shuts off. It's academic background noise. Why do we default to writing like this?
Because it feels safe. Applicants are intimidated by the selection committee. They imagine a group of stern judges in suits, so they try to use complex vocabulary and formal declarations to sound professional.
Right, they want to sound smart.
But a sentence like, I am passionate about studying, is an empty claim. It provides no evidence of why you are passionate or how that passion manifests in reality.
So if sounding professional and formal is a trap, what is the actual winning strategy?
The antidote to an interchangeable essay is relentless specificity. The human brain doesn't connect with abstract concepts like passion or dedication. It connects with narrative. It connects with story. You need to anchor your essay in a specific lived moment from your reality.
Okay, but let me channel the frustration of a typical applicant right now. A listener might be thinking, that's great advice if you've had a dramatic life. But my life is boring. I grew up in a normal town. I took the bus to a normal school. I studied hard, and now I work in a normal office.
I hear that constantly.
Right. I haven't survived a natural disaster. I haven't invented a new technology. I don't have a cinematic story to tell. How do you write a compelling narrative if you feel like your life is ordinary?
That is the #1 fear applicants have. But they misunderstand what makes a narrative powerful. A compelling story doesn't require explosions, profound trauma, or cinematic drama. It requires authenticity.
Authenticity.
Let's look at the mechanics of storytelling. An amateur writer thinks a good story is like a fireworks display, loud, flashy, and over quickly. But a master essay writer knows a good story is like observing a chemical reaction under a microscope.
A microscope.
Yes. It's about zooming in on a tiny, incredibly specific moment and explaining how that small moment catalyzed a permanent change in how you view the world.
Zooming in on a chemical reaction. So it's about the depth of observation, not the scale of the event. Can we walk through a hypothetical example of how to execute this?
Absolutely. Let's say you're applying for an education policy scholarship. The generic interchangeable approach is to write, I am passionate about improving education because schools in my country need better resources. Boring.
Very boring. So how do we zoom in?
You find the specific memory that burst that passion. Instead of the generic statement, you write, when I was 10 years old, the library in my rural primary school consisted of exactly 3 books kept on a rusted metal shelf.
Oh, I like that already.
I read a torn, water-damaged encyclopedia about marine biology. So many times I had memorized the feeding habits of the blue whale. I loved that book. But by the time I was 12, I realized the tragedy wasn't that the book was old. It was that no one in my village had the budget to buy a 4th book.
Oh, wow. I literally have goosebumps. The rusted metal shelf, the water-damaged encyclopedia, the realization about the budget. You've taken a very quiet, ordinary childhood memory and turned it into a profound observation about resource allocation.
Exactly. You've planted a specific image in the judge's mind. They will remember the applicant with the 3 books. Once you have that authentic hook, you need a highly engineered structure to carry the reader through your academic journey.
And there's a framework for that, right?
There is a proven 5-stage architectural framework for these essays.
Let's break down that framework. Stage 1 is obviously the opening, which we just did with the library story. You start in the middle of the action to grab their attention. What is the psychological purpose of Stage 2?
Stage 2 is the context. You can't stay in that childhood memory forever. You have to zoom out and quickly establish your coordinates in the world. Who are you? Where do you come from? And what socioeconomic or cultural realities shaped your upbringing?
Why does the judge need to know that?
This gives the judge the lens through which to view your achievements. If you achieved a 3.5 GPA while working night shifts to support your family, that context makes your academic success vastly more impressive than someone who had private tutors.
Right. Context provides the scale for your achievements, which naturally leads to Stage 3. What comes after context?
Stage 3 is your academic trajectory. The word trajectory implies movement and momentum. This is where you pivot from the past into the present. You connect your foundational experiences to the specific academic work you've been doing.
Like what?
You discuss the complex projects you managed, the research papers you published, or the real-world problems you solved in your current job.
So if we go back to our library example, in stage 3, this person might talk about how they organized a community book drive during their undergraduate degree. Or maybe how they worked as a data analyst for a local education NGO analyzing funding shortages.
Precisely. They are proving they have the intellectual tools to succeed at a master's level. They are establishing their competence.
Okay, so we have the hook, the context, and the trajectory. What's stage 4?
Once competence is established, you move to the most critical strategic phase. Stage 4, the future goals. This is where the vast majority of applicants fail because they forget to tailor their narrative.
To tailor something. Let's explain that. It means to customize it to fit perfectly, like a tailor cutting a suit to match your exact body measurements. Why is tailoring so important here?
Because every scholarship foundation has a different political or ideological agenda. They
Yeah.
aren't giving you $80,000 just to be nice.
Right. It's not a charity.
Exactly. They are making an investment, and they want a specific return on that investment.
Give me an example of how those agendas differ.
Look at the Global Korea Scholarship, the GKS. Their mandate is heavily focused on international development and bilateral relations. If you're applying to GKS, your future goals section must explicitly detail how you will take the knowledge you acquire in Seoul, return to your home country, and implement systems that improve your local economy while fostering a strong relationship with South Korea.
But if I took that exact same essay with those exact same goals and submitted it to the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship in Europe,
It would likely be rejected. Yes. Erasmus Mundus programs are highly academic and heavily focused on cross-border European research, innovation, and global academic networking. For that application, your future goals must pivot to focus on how you want to contribute to international research consortiums, publish in global journals, and collaborate with European institutions. You have to mold your genuine goals to fit the specific shape of the foundation's mandate.
that is incredibly strategic. You're aligning your personal trajectory with our institutional goals. And finally, we reach stage 5. How do you close an essay so the judge remembers you when they go home at night?
You utilize a technique called narrative circularity. You bring the essay full circle. In the closing, you remind the reader of the specific image you planted in the opening, but you show how your future goals resolve that initial conflict.
Oh, I see. So for our applicant, the final sentence might be something like, with the advanced policy training from this scholarship, my ultimate goal is to return to my home district, restructure the municipal education budget, and ensure that the next generation of 10-year-olds never has to stare at a rusted metal shelf with only 3 books.
Exactly. It is emotionally resonant, it proves your competence, and it aligns with the scholarship's goals. But here is the harsh reality. Knowing this structure is useless if you don't respect the process of revision. There is a fundamental law in professional writing. The first draft is always terrible. It is just you explaining the ideas to yourself.
So I finished typing that final sentence. I shouldn't just hit the submit button and hope for the best.
Never. The difference between an applicant who gets rejected and an applicant who wins a fully funded ride to a Malaysian or British university is the editing rule. Winners revise their essays 5 to 8 times. They dissect every single sentence.
8 times. That
Oh.
sounds agonizing. What exactly are they looking for during those 8 revisions?
They are hunting for friction. They read the essay out loud, projecting their voice into the room. This is a brilliant diagnostic tool. If your tongue stumbles over a clunky phrase or you run out of breath in the middle of a massive, complicated sentence, the judge reading your essay will experience that exact same mental friction. You have to rewrite it until it flows like music.
Reading out loud is also fantastic English-speaking practice, by the way. It forces you to feel the rhythm of the language.
It does. And finally, during the editing phase, you must police your word count with ruthless discipline. If the application portal specifies a strict limit of 500 words, and you submit an essay that is 512 words long, you might be automatically disqualified.
Wow, just for 12 words?
Yes, because it shows you lack attention to detail and cannot follow basic instructions. If you can't follow the word count, how can they trust you to follow the complex protocols of a master's degree program?
Exactly. It's a test of compliance as much as a test of writing. Okay, let's take a breath and recap where we are because we've covered massive ground. We understand that English is the universal travel adapter. We know it commands a 19% salary premium because humans build relationships while machines just translate data.
Right.
We've discovered that a simple 6.0 IELTS score can unlock fully funded global scholarships, and we've learned how to engineer an essay that stands out through specific storytelling.
Hmm.
But there is a giant elephant in the room here.
Oh, there is.
Every single one of these life-changing outcomes, the salary, the networking, the IELTS score, the essay, they all rely on one fundamental prerequisite. You actually have to learn the English language, you have to retain the vocabulary and comprehend the grammar. Which brings us to our fifth and final major section today, daily habits.
This is the operational core of everything we've discussed. You have to build the machine before you can drive it.
And the reality of our listeners is that they are exhausted. They're working 40-hour weeks, navigating traffic commutes, studying for university exams, and taking care of their families. They do not have 3 hours a day to sit in a quiet library and memorize dry grammar textbooks.
No one has time for that.
How do we make learning English efficient and scientifically effective for people who have zero free time?
Well, the good news is that modern linguistics has completely abandoned the idea of rote memorization. You don't need to stare at grammar charts. The most powerful, scientifically validated method for language acquisition is a theory developed by Dr. Stephen Kreischen, known as comprehensible input.
Comprehensible input. Okay, that sounds like a heavy academic term. Let's translate the science into easy English. What exactly is happening in the brain during comprehensible input?
To put it simply, comprehensible means you can understand the gist or the main idea of something. Input refers to the language data entering your brain through listening or reading. The core theory is that humans do not acquire language by studying its rules. We acquire language by consuming messages we understand.
So it's about the message, not the mechanics.
Exactly. In linguistics, this is often written as the formula I+1.
I+1. What does that mean?
The I represents your current level of English proficiency. The +1 represents language that is just slightly above your current level. Maybe it contains a few unknown vocabulary words or a complex sentence structure.
Ah, I see. So if you consume input that is I+10, like trying to read a complicated legal contract or a dense medical journal when you're a beginner, your brain just registers it as white noise. You get frustrated, you understand nothing, and you quit.
Correct. And if you consume input that is I-1, like rereading a children's book you've known for years, you understand it perfectly, but you don't grow. You aren't challenged.
But if you hit that sweet spot, the I+1, which frankly is exactly what we are trying to provide right now on the Learn and Talk English podcast.
Exactly what we're doing right now.
We are speaking at an intermediate level. A listener might hear the word interchangeable and not know exactly what it means at first. But because of the context, and because we naturally explain it in the flow of conversation, their brain decodes the meaning without needing a dictionary.
Yes. When you deduce the meaning of a word through context, your brain forms a much stronger neural connection than if you just memorized a definition from a list. Your brain evolved to recognize patterns, and comprehensible input feeds it the patterns it needs.
But how do we optimize this? Is there a way to hack this process to make the brain absorb the I+1 even faster?
There is a highly effective cognitive multiplier you can use, and it's called dual traces, which is achieved through reading while listening.
Dual traces. Walk me through the neurology of that.
When you listen to an English podcast or watch an English video, you are engaging the auditory processing centers of your brain. You're creating a single memory trace based on sound. But if you turn on the subtitles and read the text at the exact same time you hear the words spoken, you activate the visual processing centers simultaneously.
So you're attacking the brain from two different sensory angles.
Yes, you create a dual trace. It's essentially the cognitive equivalent of saving a highly important document to your computer's local hard drive and simultaneously uploading it to a secure cloud server.
I love that analogy. A hard drive and a cloud backup.
Right. If the auditory memory fades, if you forget exactly how the word sounded, your brain can rapidly access the visual memory of how the word looked on the screen to retrieve the meaning. Studies using brain imaging have shown that learners who consistently utilize reading while listening can recall new vocabulary up to 5 times better than those who rely on auditory input alone.
5 times better recall just by turning on subtitles. That is a massive return on investment for zero extra effort. You can do this by turning on YouTube auto captions, watching TED Talks, which always have meticulously translated subtitles, or even using live transcription software during international Zoom meetings at work.
It's the ultimate efficiency hack for busy people.
But let me push back on the time constraint again. Even with subtitles and comprehensible input, A listener might say, I understand the method, but I still don't have a 1 hour block of time to sit and watch a documentary. My schedule is fractured. How do you build fluency when your day is chaotic?
You abandon the idea of the study marathon. Binge studying is actually terrible for long-term memory retention. Instead, you adopt the 20-minute rule. To understand why this works, let's use an analogy from botany. Think about the mechanics of watering a houseplant.
Okay, let's look at the houseplant.
Imagine you buy a beautiful, healthy fern. You're very busy, so you decide you're only going to care for it once a month. On the first of the month, you take a massive 5-gallon bucket of water and dump it completely over the plant. What happens?
Well, the soil floods, the water runs out all over the floor, the roots suffocate, and then the plant sits in bone-dry dirt for the next 29 days. The plant dies.
Exactly. The system cannot absorb that volume of input all at once. The human brain works the exact same way with language acquisition. If you ignore your English listening practice all wit and then try to study for 5 hours straight on a Sunday afternoon, your cognitive soil floods. You hit diminishing returns after the first hour and you forget most of it by Tuesday.
Because the brain needs time to consolidate memories during sleep. So what is the alternative to the 5-gallon bucket?
Consistency over volume. You give that plant just a small cup of water every single day. The roots drink it up efficiently, the soil stays perfectly moist, and the plant thrives. The 20-minute rule is your daily cup of water. You only need 20 minutes of highly focused, comprehensible input every day to achieve fluency over time.
And the beauty of 20 minutes is that it doesn't require scheduling. It fits into the cracks of your day. You can listen to 20 minutes of an English conversation podcast while you're driving to work or sitting on the train. You can spend 20 minutes reading an international news article from Reuters or the BBC on your phone while you eat your lunch. You can watch a 20-minute YouTube video with the subtitles on before you go to sleep.
Exactly. It's about compounding interest. 20 minutes a day, sustained over a year, rewires the neural pathways in your brain far more effectively than chaotic, stressful study binges.
And as you rewire those pathways, there's actually a fascinating physiological side effect. Building a bilingual brain doesn't just give you a new vocabulary, it gives you a cognitive bonus.
The cognitive bonus is perhaps one of the most underrated benefits of language learning. Functional MRI scans of bilingual brains show increased density in the gray matter, particularly in the areas responsible for executive function.
Let's translate executive function. What does that mean for someone sitting at their desk at work?
It means the management system of your brain is stronger. Because bilingual people are constantly suppressing one language while using another, their brains become incredibly efficient at filtering out distractions. This leads to superior multitasking abilities and significantly sharper problem-solving skills.
So learning English actually upgrades your brain's hardware. I've also read research suggesting that people make more rational, less emotional decisions when they think through a problem in their second language.
That's entirely true. When you think in your native language, the words are heavily tied to deep childhood emotions and biases. But when you process a complex problem in a second language like English, it creates a psychological distance. It forces you to slow down, analyze the facts logically, and make a more objective, strategic decision.
So mastering English doesn't just get you a 19% salary bump, or a fully funded university scholarship, or a network of global contacts. It literally makes you a sharper, more analytical, more resilient thinker. It's a superpower that pays dividends in every single area of your life.
It really is a superpower.
We've gone on a massive, highly detailed journey today. Let's zoom out and look at the territory we've covered. We started by mapping the global landscape, understanding how English functions as the ultimate lingua franca, the universal travel adapter connecting 85% of international organizations and dominating the digital world.
We then calculated the real-world financial impact, showing how that 19% salary premium is driven by the fact that human beings, with their empathy and cultural nuance, will always outmaneuver translation algorithms in the business world, as HSBC unfortunately learned the hard way.
We unlocked the vault of international scholarships, breaking down the exact mechanics of programs like the Malaysia International Scholarship. We proved that a completely achievable IELTS score of 6.0 can secure your full tuition and a monthly living allowance. And we provided the architectural blueprint for a winning essay, starting with the specific, authentic memory, zooming out for context, proving your trajectory, tailoring your goals, and editing relentlessly to remove friction.
Finally, we grounded all of these lofty goals in practical daily habits. We explored the linguistics of comprehensible input, the memory-boosting power of reading while listening to create dual traces, and the critical importance of the 20-minute rule to water your linguistic plant consistently.
It is a profound amount of information, but the core mechanism tying it all together is simply your daily commitment to the language. Every time you tune in and do your English listening practice, you are building the bridge to your own future.
It's all connected. And as we wrap up our conversation, I want to leave you with the final, slightly provocative thought to reflect on as you go about your day.
Ooh, a final thought. I like it.
We've spent this entire episode focused on the external, tangible rewards of English, the higher salary, the free global travel, the elite university degrees. But what if the greatest benefit of learning English has nothing to do with money or academics?
If it's not the money and it's not the free education, what could possibly be a greater reward?
What if the greatest reward is the completely new, radically confident version of yourself that you become in the process? There is a famous quote attributed to the historical emperor Charlemagne. To have another language is to possess a second soul.
A second soul. That's incredibly profound.
Think about it. When you learn English, you aren't just memorizing a list of verbs or practicing pronunciation. You are building an entirely new identity. You are opening a door inside your own mind to new philosophies, new senses of humor, new cultural perspectives, and a bigger, braver version of who you are. The person who successfully navigates an international airport, presents an idea in a foreign language boardroom, and writes a winning essay is fundamentally more confident than the person who started this journey. You earn a second soul.
The second language gives you a second soul. I can't think of a better way to summarize the value of what our listeners are doing right now. You are doing the hard work of building that second soul, and we are so incredibly proud to be a small part of that journey. If you want to keep watering that plant, if you want to keep improving your English vocabulary, mastering English expressions, and doing your English conversational practice with us, you are in the exact right place.
Please continue listening to podcasts on Learn and Talk English. Our entire channel is dedicated to providing high-quality educational English content, breaking down complex ideas into easy English to help learners like you reach those massive global goals.
We want to hear from you. Please hit the subscribe button, like this episode, and leave a comment below. What is your dream scholarship? What specific country do you want to work in? Write your goals in the comments. It's fantastic English speaking and writing practice. Keep watering your plant for 20 minutes a day. Keep building that second soul, and we will see you next time.